Hello, everybody. Good morning if you are in the Hong Kong area time zone. Good evening, good afternoon to everyone else who is tuning in from the rest of the world as well. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert. So if you're the first time coming here, every single month I invite a guest expert to share their wisdom and share their insight and to share their inspiration with others, all to do with singing and live performing. So if you are into singing, you're into creativity, you are into performing, then you are in the right place. So whether you are watching live right now, and if you are, say hello so we can see you, we can see your comments here. Say hello and let us know where you're tuning in from. So whether you are watching live or you're watching the replay, do pop your comments here, because we do check it and we do want to hear from you. Hey there, Angela. So great to have you here. All right, today is episode 11. So this is the 11th month. Every single month I've been coming on at the end of every month to interview somebody from different industries, but we talk about different topics related to creativity, related to the voice, related to singing, music, and performing. So in the past, we've had music producers, singer-songwriters, and today I am super, super thrilled to have Minji Chang, who will be joining us. Minji Chang is an actor, producer, podcaster, and entrepreneur based in Los Angeles. And we're going to be talking about her personal journey of self-expression and how she's using her voice and empowering others to use theirs to serve the greater good. Today, we're talking about self-expression. We're talking about how important is it to foster your own creativity and self-expression through the arts. We're going to be talking about all that today. And if you are tuning in for the first time, my name is Crystal Diaz. I'm a singer, vocal coach at CSMA Studio, and co-founder of the Online Vocal Academy. Now, if singing is something you are truly passionate about and you want to foster your creativity through music, then do check out my free plug-and-play vocal exercise bundle by going to onlinevocalacademy.com/bundle. You will download 3 of my top vocal exercise routines, and they are all guided. You will hear my voice guiding you through the entire exercise. You're going to be getting 3 of them for free. So if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and visit onlinevocalacademy.com/bundle. It's free. All right. So jumping in here. Hello. I see comments coming in. I love it. Hello, AMK. I see you here. And Taylor is in the house. Hello. Aluki is here. I only know this last part. Xiu Xin Xiao Xin. Is that correct? Let me know if I read that right. And then Estella is here. Shafeen. Is it Dina or Dinah? Hey there. She's watching from Canada. Which part of Canada are you watching from? Toronto or Vancouver, East Coast, West Coast? Where are you from? I am from Vancouver. I didn't grow up there, but I went to school, went to university in Vancouver. I was born in Vancouver, and my husband is from Vancouver as well. Hey there, Facebook user. I don't see your name, but that's all good. Thank you for tuning in. Dina is from Toronto. Welcome. All right. Minji Chang is my guest today. Minji is a Korean American actor, producer, podcaster, and entrepreneur based in Los Angeles. She is deeply passionate about storytelling, social justice, and empowering marginalized voices. She's the global executive director for Kollaboration. If you haven't heard of this organization, you have to check it out. Kollaboration is a nonprofit organization focused on discovering, connecting, and elevating Asian American Pacific Islander artists. And in her career, Minji has worked with major studios and organizations, including Netflix, HBO, Comcast NBCUniversal, Sony, Warner Brothers, the Walt Disney Company, and the White House. The White House. She co-produces the Asian Pacific Filmmakers Experience, which highlights Asian films and filmmakers in major festivals, including Sundance, SXSW, Tribeca, Toronto Film Festivals. And she is currently producing her first feature documentary film. Whoa. Oh, by the way, she is also developing a web platform, words are hard today, to support creative professionals. Check her out, Minjizi, and First of Pod. All the links are in the description box where you're watching this. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I've been looking forward to it all week long. And I'm going to bring Minji up here right now. Everybody say hello. Hello, Minji.
Hi, Crystal. Hi, everyone from all over the world. This is so cool.
Thank you so much for being here. I see Freddie is here. Hi. And let's see, Jenny Mac is here. Jenny Mac just joined us in our membership. And Mayalyn Montero, she's watching from Hong Kong. Welcome, everybody. Hello. And hello, Minji. First of all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time. You are an incredibly busy person. I know that there's a lot going on in your life. I mean, I just read your bio and I was like, oh my goodness, this does not end.
I'm sorry. I'm like, oh no, it's still going.
That is, I mean, you have such an expansive career. I mean, how are you actually able to balance all of this? Are you able to? You share some tips. How are you balancing this?
I don't know if balance is my strong suit, to be honest. It's a friend offered to me that I might be like a high functioning anxious person. That's a thing to explore, but I love what I do. I think I've been able to be in the entertainment space for so long. It's been like 12 years now. I don't know. You just like when you care about things, you make time for it, right? And if you enjoy what you do, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I get to produce a movie. You know, I want it to be a career, but it's something I would do for free. So I don't know. Like that's why I think it's the balance question is so interesting. And I'm not married or have children, so I feel like work. Friends and my family are my life. That's about it.
I love that. I love how you said we get to do these things. And I think that's the true nature of when you are walking your purpose, or you are truly passionate about what you do. And you're so right. You know, for me, I'm a singer and a vocal coach. And I think to myself, I get to do this too. And I totally resonate with that. I get to sing as my job. I get to work with people and help them with their voices. So I completely resonate with that. I love how you put that. Us give us a little snapshot for those who are watching right now and watching the replay who maybe they're meeting you for the first time? Can you give us a snapshot of your upbringing? Would you say that you've always been creative and multi-passionate even as a child?
Yes, 100. In short, absolutely. I was born and raised in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area, California. So I'm a California girl through and through. And I grew up my childhood in Silicon Valley in Cupertino, and then I moved to a suburb a little bit away from that, and it was a pretty predominantly white Caucasian neighborhood, and that was something that kind of shaped me a lot as a kid, kind of awakening me more to my Asian American identity. And here I live in the United States, where the conversation around race is like pretty embedded into who we are. Like, I don't know how it is everywhere else in the world, and I'm learning about that. But identity politics is a big part of like the fabric of America, especially now. But I was always a creative kid, and I was always really into acting as a child. Like, I was actually really shy. I was always like holding onto my mom's skirt. That's what I remember. I was always just like hiding behind her. But when it came to our church musicals, like I grew up in church as a kid, I was like, what's my part? What are my lines? And it was so fun for me. And so suddenly the shyness went away, and I got to play make-believe, and it was really, really fun for me. So that part was always there, really into arts and crafts, drawing, making things, bracelets, clay, whatever. But I was a nerd too, and I love school. So I feel like there's like everyone's so multifaceted. It was definitely in me to be creative. I love pop culture. Like, I was always listening to music and dancing around and watching movies since I was memorizing lines from movies since I was like 4 years old. And I was like reciting movie lines back and like talking as the character while I watched. That part was always apparent. But it took it took some years for that to develop, and having that be like the chosen career path. That didn't happen till much later.
My mother always told me, repeated, there's a Chinese phrasing, I don't know it in Chinese, I can't remember, but it's the idea that what you do as a 3 or 4-year-old determines what it is that you're doing as an adult, like the things that you're passionate about. So the fact that you said 4 years old, that you're already memorizing lines. And I saw you on Instagram, you recently made a post about that, about memorizing lines, right? And so that's interesting. And so if you're not sure, if you don't know, if you are doing something that you're passionate about, what your purpose is, think about what you did at 3 or 4 years old.
Yes. What did you do when you played? When it was like the joy of your life? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I love that.
Exactly. What was it that lit you up, and naturally you were drawn to that? Because that's a big indicator. And I think we grow up and we lose sight of that. And I think that's the beauty of being creative, going back into that idea of playtime. We so rarely get to give ourselves permission to do that. Life can be very serious, but it doesn't have to always be that way. I do want to talk a little bit about what you mentioned, though, about how you didn't actually live live or choose this path until a lot later in life. And as I understand from your biography, you actually had a career in medicine and public policy. Is that where you started? Can you tell us a little bit about that and that switch to the creative arts?
Yeah, I was studying since I was in high school, actually, since 9th grade. It's the beginning of high school in the States. I started a program for health and bioscience career pathway, and my health teacher started it at our high school. So I was very, it's a privilege to have that kind of program. So I was really 100% like, I'm going to be a doctor. I really wanted to be an obstetrician. I wanted to deliver babies. I wanted to be there for women. And because I noticed there's so many male OBGYNs, at least that's what we call it in the States. But I was like, I think I would like to have a female doctor. And I think a lot of other women might feel that way too. So I was really, I love science. I love biology. Anatomy, physiology was like my favorite class. And I did well. I liked school a lot. So I was really on that path hardcore. I studied molecular cell biology in college. And then when I was in college, I was introduced to this new program for public health. And like everyone knows what public health is now because of coronavirus and COVID. But back then, a lot of people, it was like more in like the health world, people knew what public health was, which is to look at populations of people and understand why people live and do the things that they do. Why is depression high over here? Why is pregnancy and teenagers high over here? And I was fascinated by that because I'm just so fascinated by people. And so I graduated in that, and I actually worked in public health for almost 4 years after graduating college and university. And then, I started volunteering on the side. And that during college, when the transition started, when I started kind of entertaining the idea of working in entertainment. And so it took a long time, but because the representation thing, at least in the States, in Hollywood, I didn't grow up seeing people like me in film and TV very much at all. I consumed a lot of TV and movies, but rarely I saw myself, and I wasn't aware that I wasn't seeing myself. So I think when it came to what I thought I could do, medicine and all that seemed very accessible. Like, that's something I can do. There's a path for that. There are people like me who do that every single day. And the path to do film, whether in front of the camera, behind the camera, as a woman too, for a lot of different reasons, I didn't really think of that because it wasn't in the front of my mind as an option. So yeah, it took a while, and I'm really grateful. I love science, and I think that there's science in art. I think there's science in creativity. So I don't regret any of my decisions. I'm glad that I studied science. And somebody asked me recently, would you have gone back and like majored in theater? Would you have focused on film? And I was like, maybe, but no, because I think I would be a different person maybe. And I really like what I got to learn.
I think that's so true in terms of the choices that we make. So often we do think back and think, oh, if only I'd done this. But then you're so right. Those paths that you've chosen and in those moments, those choices that you make are what make you who you are today. And the fact that were interested in public policy, and then this is something that you are pushing now. You're into this now as well as part of your work. So I kind of want to go a little bit deeper into that switch, though, in terms of you said that you actually graduated with what did you graduate in university? You actually studied public health. Is that correct? And so you continued that path, but then you said that you there's some things that happened that actually we were entertaining this idea. So what was that first jump in? What was that moment? Take us to that moment where you're like, you know what? This is where I want to be. Was it like a pivotal moment, or was it a collection of different things that kind of steered you into that direction?
I think it was a collection of things, but there was a really big incident in my life that reframed everything. And it was in the middle of college. I was 19 years old, and I got out of an abusive relationship. And it was something that I had been going through since I was 14. And I was really young when it started. It was with a much older guy from church. And, I grew up in a Korean American church. There's a whole kind of culture around that. And he was very controlling. It was not a good situation. It was pretty dangerous, actually. And I was very lucky to get out of it. And it was pretty dark. I think something that a lot of artists feel, we pull from our life experiences. We're sensitive and we feel everything very deeply. Some people are good at suppressing that. I don't think that's healthy, but I understand to survive, sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get through that moment. But when I was able to get out of it, my brother, he's one of my best friends, and like a few friends really helped me kind of escape. I apologize. I live near an airport, so that's an airplane. But once I got out of it, I don't know, it felt like I was kind of reborn, for lack of better words. Like I felt like I had really given up complete control of my life to this third party, to this guy. And he did his best to kind of extinguish my spirit. I think it was really, who I am bothered him a lot, which is funny because like you're supposed to be in a loving relationship, but whatever. I'm a pretty opinionated person. I have an attitude about a lot of things. I don't like everything. I am outspoken. So when I kind of realized my own agency, when I kind of reclaimed who I was in a way for the first time since I was like a little kid, and I understood like I can make my own decisions. This is like a second chance at life, really. It sounds quite dramatic, but it was for me. That's how I felt when I was 19 years old. I was like, what do I want to do? And so kind of, I think that like, I really believe in spirituality and like things aligning and timing. But I really started to explore my options. That's when I switched to public health. I decided to leave the hard science behind. I was like, I'm gravitating more towards psychology, sociology, things that are kind of talking about the human mind and how we interact with each other. So that was one gateway. And then from there, like, I picked up a theater class because I had a spare elective. I went and studied abroad in Paris. Like I did these things that were more true to me, and doing those smaller decisions, different things kind of kept coming into my life that were steering me, I think, into the arts. Because that theater class, when I was in Paris of all places, like the most like, artistic romantic place, I felt like I was back at home. And I'd grown up in theater and I stopped for so many years. I kind of like extinguished all of my artistic expression. And when I got back into theater class and I was like running lines again, I was like, oh my gosh, this feels like home. It felt so good. It felt so like, I felt alive, right? So that was like a good inkling. And then over time, just more and more things like volunteering for Kollaboration, getting involved, being around other artists, it really just, the momentum really built up there.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That is so inspiring on so many levels. A couple of things that you said that you talked about that reclaiming of yourself and self-expression and taking back the agency, all of that. I think there's so many of us that are in situations right now where we do feel repressed. I think there's a lot of things going on in the world where we may feel repressed, or we may feel like we don't have a say or we don't have a voice. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the value of the creative arts in helping somebody to explore that. And growing up in Hong Kong, I went to school here, and although I went to international schools here, there weren't that many people really into creativity and into the arts. It was all like business. It is a science. It's math, econ. That was a real big highlight. And I'm very passionate about the importance of supporting the creative arts, especially in children. And can you speak to that a little bit? What do you think it is about, how important is it for everybody to experience some kind of creative outlet? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I personally, I'm a very dramatic person. I think it's everything. I think creativity is, I'm also a business person. I'm building a startup. I'm learning a lot. I've been in the corporate world. Hollywood is an industry. Like the business and the practical, the logistics, the operational side is not lost on me. I actually really like it. But I think that creativity is inherent in that. If you can't be creative, like you're not going to be even competitive in business. I think that to divorce those things, to separate them, that they are not connected, is absurd. I think it's a disservice to business. I think it's a disservice to art. Because I think that there's science to art and there's art to science, right? There's something about it that's very symbiotic that I think is very beautiful. And I think as human beings, I think it was like some actor interview that I saw that really spoke to me. I think it was Angelina Jolie, who, watching her interview, like, I had looked at her as like, she's just this beautiful face, but she's actually quite a beautiful soul. She's very talented. It was like checking me on my own pretty privileged bias stuff. But she said basically, like, human nature is that we want to be understood. We want to express, and we want to connect, and we want to understand, and we want to be understood. I think that's a basic human need. The way that gets expressed is unique to every individual person. Some people are writers, some people like animating, some people like to sing, and some people like to act. And like, there's so many different ways to let that out. But I think I personally really believe, from all the different people I've met in my life, which are a lot of different people, that we all have that need. It shows up differently. And if that need is not met, I think it's like literally crushing someone's spirit. It crushes someone's ability to have hope. It like diminishes you showing up, So I think having a creative outlet, to me, is like breathing. I think it's one of the most necessary things. And one story I'll share is that my father, who's a Korean man, again, sorry, plane. I'm like, on set. I'm like, hold for sound. But my dad is like he grew up right after the Korean War. His dad is a colonel in the Korean military. He just passed away. But he grew up in a very unexpressive, very military household, very tough. He picked up the saxophone when he was 51 or 2. So wow. He's gone 50 years. And I asked him when I was like almost 30, I asked him, I was like, hey, what do you think your creative outlet is? He's like, I don't have one. He literally was just like, that's not who I am. And then later, so I wasn't there. I'm getting my math wrong. But I was really old when I asked him that. I never asked him. And then he picked up the saxophone. And every time he plays, I start crying, because it's something about like him coming out. And he's been smoking for, 40 years. And he like regrets smoking now because he can't play the saxophone the way he wants to. But that's like his outlet. And it made me break down crying, because there's a part of him that didn't get to be expressed until he picked up this instrument and connected with it. So I don't know. I feel like my dad changed as a person once he became like incorporated music into his life. And I think everybody's like has that. So I want to help, like, whatever, put resources, encourage people to fight for it, defend the resources. And it's something that people treat as like a luxury. And I think I don't agree with that.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, that whole idea of I don't have time to play music. I don't have time to play piano, or I don't have time to sing. And what is important to understand is that ripple effect that you were talking about, and how that can transform and can really have that positive impact beyond what you could imagine. It's not just something that you would just do silently on your own, but it does have an impact on your energy levels, how you think, what you're paying attention to, what you're appreciating, the sensitivity sides, that self-expression. I could not agree more. And, the story that you told with your dad playing the saxophone, my grandfather, I lived with him when I was in university, and was one of my favorite person in the world, but he was a man of very, very few words, but he played the clarinet. And so that story of you sharing about how you can just sit there and listen, my grandfather was very much like that. He played the clarinet, and the whole room would just go silent and just it's almost like that's his way of communicating and expressing himself,
Yeah.
because he really was a man of few words. He's silent. He could be in the room and you forget that he was there. You know? And he picks up the clarinet. It's like, oh, grandpa's playing. You know?
Yeah, that's so
he's got something to say. You know?
I love it.
It's beautiful. I want to ask you a little bit more about your career. I ask everybody this, and I love the stories that they tell and they share, but can you share with us what has been the highlight of your career so far? So I feel like you have so many different paths that you have kind of traveled, so many different routes, but if you could pick one highlight that you could share with everybody, what would that be?
One highlight? It seems so lame.
No, not. Why would it be? Share.
Like, I'm in Hollywood, so I'm around a lot of people who like they chase things to give themselves clout, and they're always trying to flex like, oh, I did this and I know this celebrity. But one of the highlights that meant a lot to me personally was doing a Buzzfeed video, because Buzzfeed back in the day was like a big deal, and it's not so much anymore. It's trying to be a news outlet. And it was with two friends of mine. One of them is Jenny Yang, who's an amazing comedian, and the other is Joy Regalano, who's an amazing Filipino-American creative. And we did a sketch. We did a funny skit. It's like 2 minutes long, and it's Odd Ways Asian Moms Say I Love You. And it was like, okay, you guys, I was very like serious actor. Like I want to be Meryl Streep, and I still do. But it was like my first, and I love to be silly, but it's the first time I got to be hired to like do this fun sketch with two friends for BuzzFeed, because a friend of ours produced. And we like crowdsourced it. We just asked on Facebook, because we have a lot of Asian American friends. We're like, hey, what's the weird ways that you know that your mom says I love you without saying that she loves you? A lot of it was like, have you eaten yet? Have you, like, you're looking fat, but here, eat more. Like, why are you wearing a sweater? Did you sneeze? Like, why are you sick? Why didn't you call me? Like, these are the ways that our Asian moms say I love you. So we made this video. It took us like a couple hours to make, and it went really viral. Like, it was my first viral experience, but there's something like kind of, it sounds so like cliche to be like, oh, my first viral experience. It was the love that people were showing. Because at that time, again, in the States, the race conversation gets very tricky. And if you don't strike the right note, people can get very offended, and they can like kind of have a backlash. But the vast majority of the response to like millions of these views were like celebrating their mothers. It made me cry, and people were cracking up, and they weren't angry about it. They just saw that we weren't even making fun of our moms. We were being our moms, right? And it turned into this big mom love fest. And like, oh my gosh, this is my Jewish mother. This is my Italian mother. This is, you know, and we're three Asian moms, a Korean, Chinese, and Filipino mom, being silly for 2 minutes. And it made me fall in love with comedy. It made me feel free to be funny and ridiculous. I'm wearing a wig. Like, you can't even tell that it's me. It was just fun. And it was so nice because I think that's a lot of artists want to connect with their audience. And the fact that it was so well received, and that people were having fun with it, and it wasn't a source of like, oh my gosh, BuzzFeed's trying to like talk about race again. It wasn't that. Everyone's just like, yo, this is funny, and this is like creepy accurate of my mom. Like, us just having a good time. It was a really nice moment. And it wasn't necessarily about being viral, but it was about this like collective love and just laughing together, and not at our moms. We're like laughing with our moms because we think they're so cute. So.
Okay, first of all, we got to get our hands on this viral video. I'm going to look this up, and I'm going to be posting that and sharing that. I got to watch this. Like, and as you're describing it, I know I'm going to be laughing, because, you know, that whole thing about, why are you doing this? And you look fat. And it is really, you know, my husband, he's Canadian. He's Caucasian Canadian. And every time, you know, we go to family gatherings, he's like, oh God, everybody's going to say I'm fat. I'm like, that's their way of saying they love you.
Yeah. They're showing interest in you. Just say thank you. Okay. Yes.
So true. Oh my God. Okay. So, and I love what you said about that too, with the comedy and the arts. I think it's not about the virality of it. And you're so right. It's about the connection. It's about the fact that you created something. And this is the thing, is people want to create that viral video. I want to go viral. And like how you put it is so true. But that's not the point. That's not the point of when you're putting something out that's genuine, that's authentic, that people can relate to, that has truth in it. I mean, that in itself will take off because you know that you're connecting with people who understand what it is that you're putting out. And I think that that is something very, very unique to the creative arts.
Yeah.
There's so many different avenues that you know we can really explore that. But thank you for sharing that. I got to watch this video. I do want to go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think what you said was so true about authenticity. And the thing is that like it was for BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed kind of like inherently tries to make viral videos. But I love that when we were in our little bubble, we were in this apartment for a couple hours making this thing, we did not think of any of that. That was not in our awareness. We were just trying to do right by our moms. It was really about us having a good time, and we weren't holding back. We weren't sitting there thinking of like, is the audience gonna like this? We were really thinking of, is this our mom? Like, is this true? And that was all that mattered. And like, so I guess we weren't like pandering to the audience. And I think that creates good art, because you're not trying to please the audience. You're just doing the thing. And that's the part that people, even the people that were not Asian, have no idea. They have no reference point, but they see it. They can feel it. There's a difference that they feel. And I've done that, and I did other ones, and I don't think that those were as good as this one, because I think this one was the most authentic. Like, I think that's the best word to wait.
And just to piggyback off what you just said there, I think what was so unique, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but was being in that moment of creativity, being in that room with your friends, and then coming together and creating that. I mean, I think that's the beauty of rehearsal. So when we were performing, we're about to do a show.
Yeah.
One of the most amazing times is when we're not on stage. Actually, it's when we're creating those memories and those stories, and that's where things happen.
Yeah.
Is when you are in rehearsal, you're jamming with the people around you, and you're like, you're in sync with each other. Yep. I think that's something that people don't see, right? People see that the finished product, but really, way beyond that. It goes before all of that stuff. And I think it's very, very similar to film. I was actually, not that many people know this, but I did share this with you, Minji, that I have a film degree. For a while, I was in the film industry. But anyway, another story, another time. Yeah. But that's what I loved about being in the film industry too, is because it's a collaboration. You're on set, and it's dark, it's cold, it's raining, and you're like, lights aren't working and all this stuff. But you love every minute of it.
Yep. Those are like, you're in a zone, you're in the flow. That's priceless. I love it.
I do want to talk on this a little bit here. I want to, you are living in San Francisco, is that correct? Right now?
I'm in LA. I'm from.
That's right. Sorry, LA. That's right. Your history of where you've been.
You're good.
That's right, Los Angeles. You reposted a quote from Daniel Day Kim recently, where Daniel Day Kim, who's an American actor, that was taken when he recently testified before the United States Congress about the anti-Asian hate sentiment that's going on right now. I mean, it's been going on for decades, right? It's not just, but right now it's being picked up a lot by the media, of course. And I want to read the quote. He says, "What happens right now and over the course of the coming months will send a message for generations to come as to whether we matter. We are united and we are waking up." Can you share with us do you believe that what's happening right now will finally be the catalyst for change that you have been for so long advocating for?
I think so. I mean, it's a really painful, uncomfortable moment, but it's ironically, I think if any person can reflect on their own life path, a lot of the worst moments in our lives were huge turning points, where we had to like face some uncomfortable truths. We had to grow. We had to learn something new. And I liken that to what's happening now. I think it is a long time coming, but I don't think we're finished, but I do think it is a big step forward, because unfortunately, sometimes it takes like these really huge, horrific wake-up calls to understand the cost and the consequence of being silent. And there's a long history, and there's a lot of reasons and a lot of culture and programming that Asians in America have been assimilating to, that we've been adopting, and that we've been kind of manipulated and exploited in certain ways by policy, by other powers that be. So I do think this is a really significant moment. I think it's something we can't turn away from. And there's somebody in the U.S., her name is Brene Brown. She's really big on vulnerability. And she was saying that part of like vulnerability and maturing and gaining wisdom is being able to look at the pain and to look at the ugliness because without that, like we can't really grow. And I think we're having to face a lot of that ugliness right now. But now we're able to say, I will not tolerate this anymore. I think it's the same thing with like Me Too as a woman, like the way that women have been condescended to and kept out of rooms and systematically just like diminished, right? There's less and less, hopefully no tolerance for that kind of treatment anymore. And so I do feel like there is a big shift that's happening. It's not going to be perfect, but at least we're doing it, right? So
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And finally, before I'm also conscious of your time, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your passion with us, your insight, your stories with us. How can somebody is asking here, oh, Anna, hello, Anna, share the link so we can all watch it. You're talking about going back to your viral video. Do you have that on hand, by the way?
I think I don't know if I kept it on my website. I kept it because I had like my reel. It might be there, but you can find it on YouTube. It's Odd Ways Asian Moms Say I Love You. That's the title. It'll be up there. And if you see a crazy girl in like a big curly wig, that's me.
Okay, got it. So let me try to find that. But in the meantime, could you share with everybody where can they find you? Where can they connect with you? And what's something that we can look forward to that's coming up for you down the line?
Well, you can find me. I'm on Instagram at Minjizi. There's a nickname my friends gave me and it stuck. But my website is minjichang.com. I'm barely okay at updating it. But yeah, my podcast, all the links and everything are on there. And I host a podcast called First of All. So that's something that I just started because I wanted there to be more Asian American female voices in the space. When I started it, it was 2-to-1 male to female podcast hosts at the time in 2017. So hopefully it's changing. There's more women of color, more younger women that are sharing their stories and speaking up. So it's awesome. So you can check me out on my podcast. And I have a lot of awesome guests that come through. Crystal, I hope that you can join me there at some point.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to.
I want to share all the work that you're doing and these cool, I don't know, I just learned from everybody. So please follow along if you care to.
Yeah, I found it on YouTube and I posted the link already. So I'm sure people are gonna be like scrambling to see that. Can you just say the name of your podcast one more time?
It's called First of All.
First of All.
Yeah, that's what I say when I'm about to pop off on something.
Minji Chang here. I'm not sending the link, but I'm just wanted to highlight that here. So in case anybody wants to see. All right. Thank you so much. So those of you who are watching, who are in the membership, who are in the Singers Connect or Online Vocal Academy membership, we are not done. Okay, so you have your Zoom link. Jump on Zoom link and join us for a more in-depth conversation. You can ask your questions. We can have more dive deeper into some of the topics that we talked about. We actually didn't get to all of our questions today, but we can dive deeper into our private members-only exclusive session. So join us there. And for everyone else who watched the replay, who are tuning in live right now, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much, Minji, for sharing your stories with us. And we cannot wait to see, your feature film. We didn't even get to talk about that. Your feature documentary that's going to come out. But when people are following you, hopefully you're going to be posting updates for us on all of that as well. We look forward to seeing that. All right, that's it for today. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you again next month. All with my next episode. It'll be episode 12 next month. So see you all then. If you like this, do follow wherever you're watching, follow the Facebook group that you're following or Facebook page that you're seeing this on, or if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so you can be notified anytime we come back on. Thank you so much, and see Inner Circle members and Singers Connect members. I'll see you online in Zoom in about 2 minutes. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.